What's up, guys? I'm Trey Smith.
And I'm Bailey Smith.
And we are the owners of Recaptured Values. And you are watching Teach It Tuesday.
Hey everybody, it is Tuesday, which means it is Teach It Tuesday time. And today we're going to be doing a pattern a little different than any of the patterns we've done, mainly because this one is with a woven fabric. This is the Mayfair bloomers. We're going to be doing the paper bag version. So make sure that you print those pattern pieces out. We will link this pattern down below in the description. You click the arrowhead, I think on the right hand side, click the arrowhead, the description pops open. Before we go further though, you may hear some added background noises today. My daughter is in here with me, so she's got her iPad trying to keep her entertained while I try to get this video done. So don't mind that. But yeah, we'll link this video down below to purchase, and you can print out your pattern pieces. We are doing the paper bag version, which means you do need to print out the paper bag pieces. It's just two pieces. You have a front and a back. It's a really simple pattern. So let's get started. What you're going to need is you're going to need about, I'd say, a half yard of fabric. Could do this. I normally do 1 yard just because I like it, just in case I want to make more. 1 yard gives me a little extra. So 1 yard of fabric, woven fabric, really any woven fabric for this pattern will work. I'm going to be using this gauze type fabric today because I really think it's cute in fall. Then you'll need, you can make this if you don't want to buy it, but it's super simple to just buy. This is from Hobby Lobby. This is a 1/2 inch single fold bias tape. Love it. It's really cool to use. You can make your own, like I said, but it's just really simple to just go ahead and buy it pre-made. You'll need that. You'll need some 1/2 inch elastic and some 1/4 inch elastic to finish this. So now let's look and see what's already cut out. Okay, so I've got my pieces here cut out. You have one front cut on a fold, and you have, or that's a back. One back cut on a fold, and you have one front cut on a fold here. So we got that, and then, so that's these pieces here. The two pattern pieces, you have front and the back. That's all you have to cut out here. All right, so move those out of the way. And then there is a cut chart, which includes all of the measurements you need. You'll need the 1/2 inch elastic for the waist. You'll need the 1/4 inch elastic for the legs. And mine, in the cut chart, said I needed this, I believe, 19 3/8. I needed this cut. And then 11.5 inches, I needed 2 leg pieces of elastic. And then 21 inches for the bias, I needed 2 pieces of that. So I've got those bias tape cut, my elastic cut, and that's pretty much it. Okay, so what you're gonna need to do is first you're going to want to press your pieces. So let me show you guys my handy dandy tool that helps. All right, so this little thing you can get at any really fabric store. Hobby Lobby is where I got mine, I believe, in this little kit. It was available with some snippers that I use. I think these are the ones that I got. Had this in there, had a little seam ripper, so it's a great kit you can buy and get this thing, but it pretty much helps you to fold up and press your seams. So let's go over to the iron to press these seams to get them ready. Okay, so we're over here at my iron. I just got this iron here. I believe it was got at a yard sale like a long time ago, so don't pay attention to it. It's beat up. It does its job. But you want to make sure that you've pressed all the wrinkles out of your fabric. It's actually best to go ahead and do that before you cut, just to make sure that you're cutting correctly. So what you're going to need to do is lay out your fabric. This is the top edge of the back of the fabric. And so with woven, it's a little bit different to tell the front and the back. Just pick the side you like the best. Really, is the best way to do it. But what you're going to do is you're going to fold it a 1/4 inch, a 1/4 inch down. So 1/4 inch down, and you're going to press it. So I like to do that. Go ahead and then just come over here, press that down, and what you can do is just go ahead, put your little tool in here, and then just keep pulling it across. Because it is metal, you can iron over it. This is a really cute thing here. So we're gonna go ahead, that's that. We're gonna go ahead and now fold it to 2 inches and 1/8 of an inch. So 2 1/8 of an inch, which this one actually has measurements for like each eighth. So I know that I need to, I'm gonna go ahead and do it in the middle here first. I know I need to pull it to 2 because I want this to be steady, and then I need it to pull a little bit after 2. So then that's gonna be right there where I need to press. And so I like to press the middle and then work my way around here and do the edges. Push back here just a little bit. Alright, so I do the middle and then I do my edges first, and then I'll just check the extra points. Same thing, just make sure that it's lining up with 2 1/8. There we go, that's the perfect memory seam there. It's all ready to go, so this will open back up. We have those memory seams. So I'm going to scoot this over and do this one really fast, the exact same way. Pick the front and the back, the wrong side and the right side like you want to do. Exact same thing again. Fold it 1/4 inch. That's half, 1/4. It's about right there. And like I said, same thing, and fold it over again, 2 inches and 1/8 of an inch. So again, I can start in the middle, pull it down. Hopefully you guys can see this. Pull it down. Alright. Press it where you get it measured. And then keep doing the same thing on the sides. Okay, so we've got these pressed, and now let's go over to see what's next. Okay, so what you're going to do is open up your front and your back, and you're going to want to do it with the right side, which means the side you didn't fold to. So you want to open up your fabrics like this and put them right sides together. And then what you're going to do is put them right sides together here. Hopefully you guys can see. Right sides together, and they're not going to match up all the way because the back is wider than the front. So as you can see, this side's lined up and this side is not. All you have to do is sew this one with a 1/2 inch seam allowance and then pull this over like this and match it up. That's all you have to do. And so we're going to go over, I'm going to use the serger because I like the way it looks. So let's go. Alright, so you're going to match up your side seams here and open up all those folds we did. You want to open it up and make sure that the top one's matching up so that it's super easy to do. You're going to do a 1/2 inch. And I like to go ahead and tighten these needles just a little bit. My straight ones just a smidge, just to make sure that this doesn't come undone. Alright. I may loosen them just a little too. I cut my tail just in case I do need to fix my tension, which I just pull just a little bit. There we go. I'm gonna go ahead and cut. Don't cut your tails too short or they will unravel. And then just to double check your tension, you can do this, and as long as you like the way it looks, keep on going. Okay, so we're gonna pull the other side over to make it match up, because like I said, it won't match up unless you make it match up. You have to pull it over because the back is bigger than the front for the booty. So exact same thing. Keep on going. This one was just a little bit cut weird. Again, I cut my tails long. You can use a sewing machine, just a straight stitch if you want to. A tight straight stitch to make sure that your seams are good. Alright, so I'm going to cut that. And cut that. Alright. Alright, so this is a step that doesn't say in the instructions to do it now, but I'm going to go ahead and do it just because I just spent all that time making this seam pretty. So what you need to do now is turn your garment. This is a side seam here, and I'm just going to make sure that everything is still folded like it needs to be folded, and I'm going to press the seam over here like this. And in the instructions, you can actually top stitch this seam down, the side seams, if you want to, but I am just going to leave them normal. But I am going to make sure that I press this 1/2 inch down at the top so that it doesn't cause me any issues later. My daughter is watching Blippi. She's obsessed with that show. I'm sure somebody has kids that are obsessed with that show. It keeps her attention, so I'm thankful. Alright, so we got that, and then of course this seam as well. You just kind of fold it down, follow it along, and then fold it. You'll just double check it to make sure it's still 2 1/8 here, just to make sure that this side seam is still got that pressed seam here. You're going to do the legs next, but I like to just go ahead and make sure that all my stuff is handled and dealt with and pressed before I move on. It just makes it a lot easier, in my opinion, to make sure that it's done now. You don't have to worry about it later. Press that down 1/4 inch, and then press this down again. Make sure that you're doing it correctly. It should be correct, but just double check yourself just in case. Yes, baby. Huh? A rhinoceros? Okay. She's talking about a rhinoceros. I'm just going to double check. Okay, so now I have that folded. I have this pressed, and so now what I'm going to do is do the legs. So let's go back over here to add the bias tape to the legs. Alright, so this next part here, you're going to need some pins, and you're going to need to turn your garment right side out. So this video definitely has some extra background noise, so apologize for that, but we are real people here, and we do have life happen sometimes. We just got to get stuff done, so we're not leaving you guys out of this. So turn your garment right side out, which means that folded waist will now be on the inside, and this is now what it looks like on the outside here. I try to just make sure that this folded edge is still as good as it can be. And so what you're going to do now, what I'm going to do is go ahead and serge this edge here. I'm not going to cut anything off. I'm just going to serge the curve of my leg here all the way to here. And the same thing on the other side, just to make sure that these frayed edges don't get in my way. Okay, so as you can see, I just serged the edge here just to make sure. I turned my knobs down to 0, just to make sure that the tension wasn't off, and there we go. I've got those edges serged just to make sure those raw edges don't mess with me, the frayed edges. You could do this if you wanted to, but you're going to hem that in a minute. So what you're going to do is you're going to open it up, right sides together, or right side out still, and you're going to match up your side seams, and you'll have this curve here on both sides. So you want to put the bias tape first on the outside of the garment, the right side of the garment, and you're going to apply it like this. You open up your bias tape here to where it's open like this, all the way open, and you're going to put this edge close to the edge. Since I serged this, I'm going to do it a little bit further than the actual edge, but then you just pin it on and go around. Pin it as you go. And the reason why I'm doing it a little bit further from the edge is because I want to make sure that I don't have the serged edge shown. I want to make sure that's covered up in my casing here. And you're pretty much, all this does is you're creating a casing for your leg elastic here. And this is the coolest way. If you have casing, if anything you do has leg elastic casing, this bias tape will save your life. I'd use it on every pattern that has elastic casing, even knit fabric I use it on. So this is like a lifesaver here, this bias tape. And like I said, you can absolutely make your own. They have bias tape makers. This is the 1/2 inch single fold, if you want to buy a bias tape maker and use your own fabric, just remember that you have to cut your fabric on a bias so that it actually curves around your fabric here. That's why it's called bias tape. If you didn't know, it's the opposite. It's like the diagonal of a grain line and stretch. So that's important to know. Okay, so there's that. There is the bias tape along the outside edge. Here you're doing the exact same thing on the other side, and we'll speed past that because it's pretty simple once you get it on there. But I will go ahead and do that to the other side real fast. My pins are in the way. Alright, so we got it attached to the outside of the garment like so. All my pins are getting caught up in my fabric here. We got that, so let's go to the sewing machine. Okay, so we're at the sewing machine, and all we're going to do now is, like I showed you earlier, that first fold, that line, this line right here, that's about 1/4 inch, that's what we're going to sew on. So you're going to put this down. I'm using mustard thread here. Hopefully it'll help, but let's see here. I'm going to go ahead and put this underneath here. You can remove your pins as you go if you want to. Alright, I'm just going to use a straight stitch. I've got it set at 2.5 length. That's what it automatically puts it on, and I'm not going to change it. So I'm going to go ahead and just get to sewing here. You're just going to stay along this line here, that one folded fold, that press in there. And since we did serge this edge, just make sure that your fabric is, pulled away from that edge just a little bit. The bias tape is a little further away so that that serged edge won't show when we flip this over. But you're literally just doing a straight stitch along this folded line here. So it creates a really good guide to help you keep straight. But this bias tape really makes it look clean. I can't wait to show you guys if you've never used the bias tape. And the color of the bias tape really doesn't matter too much because it is going to be on the inside of the garment. So I'm using ivory. You could use the one that matches if you want to, but ivory is just fine. I took out any of those pins. Alright, I'll go ahead and take them out now. But as you can see, that's what it looks like when you get that part done. And let's go ahead and sew the other side up just like we did this side. And this is like literally the easiest way to do the casing. Alright, so this other side now, let's flip it over. Do the exact same thing with this side. Okay. Now remove the pins here. And then I'll show you what to do next, which is really simple. You can use pins for the next step. I don't, I'm just used to it. Alright, so what you're going to do now is this piece here, like this, you're going to flip it. Let me see if I can help show you guys. This piece, you're going to flip it up now, like this. So this is now the inside of the garment. That's the outside of the garment. And now what you're going to do is flip it over like this to the inside of the garment. So now that's the outside. It's not showing at all on the outside. And now I've flipped it over like this. It's closed. It's hiding my seam here, and so basically the bias stitch is going to hold my seam in there all nice and tidy. And so what you're going to do, like I said, you can go ahead and fold it and pin it if you need to. I like to just fold it as I go, and you are literally just going to stitch about 1/8 of an inch away from this edge here, on this side, on closest to you guys. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and get everything situated for just a minute underneath here. I do like to go ahead and open this up, flip it, just to get everything situated. All right, so then I can start going. And as you can see, it's starting to create a casing back here. So there's a tube now in here from this bias tape that we can stick the elastic in. So it's pretty cool, and it's very fancy looking. Honestly, when you get done, it's pretty cool. Alright, and when you get to the seam, just make sure that that's flipped up correctly, and that you're just making sure that you've got all the stuff that you need pushed up. When you fold it, you want to make sure that everything underneath it is folded nicely underneath it too. It keeps trying to come out of there. This fabric choice, like I said, may not have been the brightest, but it's going to be super cute when we're done. I'll make sure that that looks good. Alright, yeah, I'll just have to cut those. Alright, and I just like to, like I said, prepare, make sure everything's still folded nicely. Make sure it's still folded nicely. Alright, and so that's what it looks like when you are done with that. That's the inside of the garment, and now this is the outside, and so it's perfect. Trying to make sure that this is, see, as you can see, that's the outside and this is the inside, and so on the outside you'll never know that that's holding the elastic. It's pretty awesome. Do the exact same thing on the other side. So that's the bias tape on the outside of the garment. We're going to flip it up and over to the wrong side of the garment, and then just start top stitching 1/8 of an inch along that left side, the side that's closest to the inside of the garment, not the outside. Okay, now let's go over here and add the elastic. Alright, so this next part, to pull the elastic through the casing, you're going to need a safety pin, and you're going to put it on the edge like this. I like to put it pretty far up because this knit elastic, it's really easy to fray if you don't put it pretty close. I'm going to get this little tail here. Alright, and so all you're going to do, I'm going to go ahead and get this one on here too. All you're going to do is like thread this through the casing now that we just made with that bias tape. So what you're going to do is, make this a little easier for you guys to see. So now here is the little opening for this tape, for this elastic, and you're just gonna inch it through little by little. I'm paying attention not to make sure that this goes through it, because that would be bad, because you'll have to redo it. Alright, I'm getting pretty close to the edge here. What I like to do when I get pretty close, pulled here, I like to make sure that I can still see the elastic, and then I'll go ahead and pin it. And I'm going to pin it up like this, so that when I sew these edges together in a minute, it's still pinned, but I'm going to cut that elastic off in just a moment. So then now that's pinned, so I don't have to worry about it falling into the casing and having to restart. But you do need to remember right here that you have this pin sticking out this way so you don't pull your hand into it, because that would be bad. I like to just try to make sure that my elastic is still straight. I haven't twisted it in any way, because it's a little bit more difficult to fix if you do something like that. So you can just stretch it in your, like, feel it just to make sure there's no wrinkles or anything, or twist in it. So you pull it out and just make sure that everything is still straight. You can notice wrinkles in this fabric if you don't. If it's not straight, you can see it. And then you're gonna pin this one just the same. I'm actually gonna pin it the other way for now, but then I'll move it. All right, so there's our elastic in there, and we're gonna sew the sides together in just a minute when we get this elastic in here. So let's go ahead and do this side. I've already secured my elastic, and this is the 1/4 inch elastic I'm sticking in here, just in case you weren't clear, or I wasn't clear. Alright, and I just removed the elastic or the safety pin. If you want to make sure that you don't lose it, you can go ahead and keep your safety pin like that if you want to. It might be easier so that you don't lose it like I almost did. I'll pull it just a little bit more out. Alright, and then I'm going to pin it here so that it doesn't move. Okay, and then now what you're gonna do is you're gonna flip this inside out, because this was right side out now. You're gonna flip it inside out. Careful with your pins, not to snag your fabric. And you're going to match up your crotches. So there's one crotch, and there's one side of the crotch. And what you're going to do is you're going to sew along this edge here all the way across. You can be sure to remove your pins, but you're going to do a 1/2 inch, and you're going to trim it down to 1/4 inch if you're using a sewing machine, or you just do a 1/2 inch with a serger. So I'm going to go ahead and use the serger. Let's go do that. Alright, so I've already removed one of these pins here that was in the way, so that when I put it underneath the serger knife, it's not going to mess up. But you have to be really careful not to let go, and make sure that your elastic is underneath your serger knife. Alright, so once it gets started, you can hold on to this piece here, remove your pin, and then make sure that this side's matching up, and keep on going. Alright, and if you get any elastic caught up in there, you can just remove it. It shouldn't be caught in there too much bad. It might be a thing you can just cut like that. So we'll just move that, cut that right there and right there, and all I'm gonna do now is just tuck my tails in here. And you could use a sewing machine if you want a better finish on that. I like to use my serger because I know it's not going to come undone. So I'm just going to go ahead and tuck my tails in just to make this look a little bit better here. And on this side, I'm going to go ahead and cut that just a little bit. Alright, tuck this tail here too. I knew those loops were looking a little big. Didn't know what happened there. Alright, tuck your tail in on that side. And then we'll go over to the sewing machine in just a moment to top stitch the seam down so that it doesn't affect the wearer. Alright. And if you've not watched any of these videos, this is called a knit picker. It's from Waywalk. It's like 99 cents. It has this little hook, and you can pull the tails back through the seam. It's awesome. You don't have to worry about your stuff messing up. It's a great tool. Alright, so when you flip this out, back right side out, see here, flip it and dip it. This is what you're going to be left with here. So this is the crotch seam here, and then what you're going to do is you're going to top stitch it down like this. So this is the seam, and I'm going to top stitch it down. So let's go to the sewing machine to do that. Alright, so I'm just going to top stitch this down. It's going to be a little smidge difficult. I got to make sure that everything's out of the way. So I'm going to pull this under like this. Make sure I know which way I want to press it down. I think I may go this way. Yeah. Alright. What was that sound? Okay. Straight stitch. Alright, and we're just going to cut that. And I'm going to pull it through this way. Alright, so now all that's left to do is to create the casing for our waistband. Alright, so before you do anything else, if your seams have messed up, let's go ahead and cut these little edges here. If you have alright, so if you look and your stuff, your seam needs to be repressed, go repress it. I'm about to do that really fast just to make sure it's that 1/4 inch at the top here, 1/4 inch, and then flip it 2 1/8 of an inch. So let's go ahead and do that real fast. I'll be right back. Okay, so I've repressed here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just make sure that I know what the front and the back is. I've got the garment turned inside out, so my folded edge is on this side now. What you're going to do, I'm going to go ahead and put it in the back here. You are going to fold 1/8 of an inch, not fold, sorry. You're going to sew 1/8 of an inch on this seam. You're going to basically top stitch this down, but you're going to leave 1.5 inches opening, so you're not going to overlap. You're going to leave 1.5 inches opening because that's where you're going to thread your elastic through for the waist. So go ahead and back stitch, and then sew this all around. You can pin it if you need to. The instructions actually say to pin it, but if you've got a good press seam, you don't have to worry about that. Just make sure you're watching the fabric. Alright, so I'm seeing that this is where I started here, so I want to make sure that I leave about 1.5 inches opening. I'm going to go about right there and back stitch there. So I left this opening here so that I can open up this and put my fabric or put my elastic in through there. So I'm going to go ahead and snip here, pull this a little bit and snip there. Put my tails just a little bit better there. Okay, so then I need to snip the other side here. And then what we're going to do is measure 5/8 of an inch up. And we're going to do a completely... so let me go grab that little tool. So then you're going to use this little tool again, and you're going to measure 5/8. So you need to see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 5/8, and so I know I need it to be about right there. And you can draw on your fabric if you need to with a pen. I just like to make sure I know where it needs to start and then just follow it along and make sure that I keep that same distance from the edge here. It's just what I like to do. If you're not really good at that, go ahead and by any means, by all means, draw if you need to draw. That's totally up to you. But I also noticed that with it there, that makes this almost off of this edge here. It's a little bit almost off of it. So that's another way to keep it steady, is to make sure that this aligns with this. Pretty much just watch your machine when you figure out where the measurement needs to go, and then watch where your fabric hits, and then just make sure it stays along that. That's the best way to guide your fabric. here, and I'm going to go overlap it. Overlap it. Back stitch a little bit. Cut my tails here. And then I'm going to go ahead and snip these little pieces. And we'll go over and add our elastic in here. Alright, so I've got my waist elastic here, and of course I'm going to put the safety pin, just like we did the leg, on the edge here. And again, if you need to find your measurements, they are in the cut chart as to what the length of the elastic that you need is. So I'm just going to go ahead and make sure that I'm pulling this through. And you want to make sure that you're not twisting it as you go along. You want to make sure that your fabric is still good and not twisting, because it would make your waist look a little wonky if you twist it. Same concept here, just make sure you're paying attention so that the end doesn't go through, because again, you'll have to redo it. And so just keep inching along the entire waist here. But these would look super cute paired with some tights. I'm so excited to pair these. Alright, so you want to make sure again that nothing is folded. You want to make sure you feel that this one's going this way and this one's going this way, so that you can overlap them and make sure that you're not going to cause a twist. And so I like to go ahead and just overlap them about a 1/2 inch and then zigzag stitch. Let's go do that real fast. Alright, and so to do that, to make sure I have enough slack, I'm going to go ahead and kind of pull the elastic out just to make sure that I have enough slack. And I'm going to go ahead and do it like this. And I'm just going to turn it to my zigzag 5-inch width, or 2-inch, sorry, 5-inch width, 2-inch length. And I'm going to start on one side of it, the elastic, back stitch, go over, back stitch. And I'm going to do the same thing right here just to make sure. On this side, back stitch. Alright, so then I've got this elastic secured. I don't have to worry about that coming undone. I'm going to go ahead and snip these little tails on the elastic. Like this. Boom, boom. Alright, and so with your elastic, then what you're going to do is you're going to pull it so that the elastic goes inside your little opening there, and you can push it in there like that. I have some frayed pieces of fabric there. Okay, and so then you're gonna just make sure that your gathers are even. You like the way they go. You like everywhere they are, at least. And like I said, if your casing was a little different somewhere, you're gonna probably have a little bit more gathers in the front rather than the back. However you decided to do it. So that's how that looks. This is still the inside of the garment. We need to close up that hole now that we left here for the casing. So what you're going to do, go back to your sewing machine, and you're going to pull it flat here like this. And you're going to make sure your fabric is pulled down, because you don't want to catch that elastic. And you want to make sure that you still sew over. Make sure that this is still on a straight stitch. Move it back to my straight stitch. Same straight stitch. And I'm going to go right back over. I'll use my hand wheel to make sure that it's starting where I originally had the seam. And the back stitch. And make sure you're stretching this out. Overlap here. Back stitch. All right, and you have closed it up. And you will cut these little pieces, and of course you could have added a tag there. These are just for my daughter, so I'm not going to add a tag for now. But you could have added a tag in that spot before you closed it up. So let's go see what these look like. Alright, so here's our finished product. They are super adorable. I can't wait to pair these with some opal tights. They're super cute. The only thing that I can say that might be better if you don't do it with the serger is that crotch seam. If you use a sewing machine instead, that might help that just a smidge, but it's a little difficult to get those to match up there. But I mean, it's the crotch, it's not really gonna matter, and as long as it's not uncomfortable for the wearer, it's still cute, it's still functional. These are really adorable, lightweight, super cute over some opal tights. These are the olive opal tights. I can't wait to pair those together with some little high knee or ankle boots. They're gonna be super cute for fall. So this is just an all-around perfect pattern. It's only $5 and some change from Little Lizard King. And so I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure that you subscribe. If you're not subscribed, hit the notification bell so that you don't miss any videos. We put out a new video every Tuesday. If you aren't already in the know of that, make sure that you start watching every Tuesday so that you can get in the know of some awesome fabrics and some awesome patterns. We'll see you guys next Tuesday. Bye.